heat when it takes heat.
You guys ready? All right, fire away.
James, what was your impression of Pitt's offense? And just they struggle obviously against West Virginia, which is a pretty good team. But what's your impression of their offense? And especially the quarterback who's been around.
Yeah, I think that they do some things really well. I think they run the ball really well. I think their identity is in running the football, and when they can do that productively, they're a very good football team. They're very well coached. The offensive line is very physical. They got some really good backs. The main back, the feature back, is a very young guy. I think he's got a great future. The quarterback's good. He's one of those guys that if you let him get hot, he can really, really hurt you. And so you always got to keep pressure on him. So, and the tight ends are really good. They probably got one of the best tight ends in the country. So, I think the offense is. It was a challenge, and so we were able to do some things on third down that helped us. And being able to get off the field against an offense like that helps, because if you don't, they eat the clock and they hold the ball. So, but overall, I think they're a good offense.
You guys have faced 5 sudden change situations, 4 interceptions, and then the onside kick, giving up 2 field goals. Why have you guys blown the ball up in those situations?
I think it's just execution. One of the things that I really like about our defense is that we've got really good leadership. So it really doesn't matter what happens in the games, good or bad. I feel like they're built to respond. I think that comes with maturity. I think that comes with age. And so I don't think our guys really flinch when there's a sudden change and things happen that are not advantageous for your team. So really proud of them. Last Saturday, one of the turnovers came at the 16-yard line, and so that your back is against the wall. And what you want is your guys to respond in those scenarios, and they did in that particular case. So we haven't been perfect at it, but we're definitely working in the right direction with the sudden change responses.
If I can ask a follow-up, is that element that kind of leads to that, what you're talking about, what you're describing with the older guys and being able to handle those moments, is that maybe the biggest difference in this defense right now as opposed to a year ago, or is there something else?
I think there's, just the overall difference is maybe a comfort level in the defense your second year. I think that's number one. Number two, we have very smart guys, and I think that they totally understand, where they're fitting, what their job responsibilities are. We got attacked with some things Saturday that weren't a lot of what we prepared for, because we hadn't seen it much prior to our game, and we got it 19 times during the football game. So then we had to just make sure that we were responding, versus something we hadn't really worked. But our guys, it's the carryover and the accumulation of reps. So I use that as an analogy to answer your question, that when things are happening bad, yes, it is about leadership. Yes, it is about responding, but it's also about executing, when your backs are against the wall with those sudden changes. So I think it's kind of all of that together.
What did Armani Chapman show you in practice this past week that proved to you that he was ready to get more snaps against Minnesota?
Well, he's been with us for the entire spring, and wasn't allowed to do much because he was coming off of surgery. Got a good accumulation of reps in fall camp. And so, what we're trying to do now is build up some depth everywhere. And in the secondary, we certainly need that. You saw that with Chapman this week. You saw it with Stick Lane. So, those guys are around the 30-play, 35-play mark because we're trying to play more guys and build more depth. So he's just been working. He's been working hard, and when his opportunity came, he delivered. And so we're looking at for more guys, but he's been progressing in practice really well.
How much better can the defensive line be as a whole when you do get the rotation that you all are starting to get, where so many different guys are getting opportunities and reps in there? How does that help the position?
Yeah, I think it's huge. You know, we talked to our guys about wanting to put waves of people in there, and so when you use Saturday as the example on a hot day in a 3:30 game, there's a lot of value in that. And you know, it's not just that you take reps off other guys and you keep them fresh. I think it's overall, it's just great for your defense, right? You know, unfortunately, this is a game where you can only play 11 at a time, but Saturday we played 21 guys on defense total. So if you look at that, that's almost a 2 deep, you know, using 22 as the measuring stick. So we told them, you know, I told them yesterday in our meeting, we would like to build up this defense where we can play 25 guys on a given Saturday, because you got to remember there's a lion's share of our guys, excluding the defensive linemen, that have to play a lot of special teams as well. So when you can start building that where you feel like you can play 22 to 25 guys defensively, I just think it helps you all the way around, not just with the reps that you're taking off of guys, but also, you know, the morale. More guys are involved, more guys are into it. I think that really matters in your locker room. So the more guys we can play, yes, it helps you physically, yes, but it also has, you know, guys more bought in to what's going on in terms of, hey, man, I got a chance to play.
When you talk about that morale, I talked about how happy Kobe Kyle was after the game. He played 7 snap play. One of the biggest plays of the game.
Yes.
You got Ruck up there close to 60. Is that rotation what you envision as far as numbers of snaps? Obviously, it matters day to day, hot game, not game, but the defensive line rotation, is that closer to what you said, this is what we want to do when we got there?
Yeah, it is. It's closer to what we want. I think right now with the three, what we call the three bigs, right? The power end, the defensive tackle, and the nose. We've had a really good rotation there. I think we're getting better with that every day. You know, even the young guys, Travis Shaw's giving us some snaps in there. Jacoby Cowan, as you mentioned, at power end. I feel really good about that position because, you know, you've got Dez, you've got Bo, and Jacoby, that we feel like we can rotate all three of those guys. So we're getting more we're getting more in line with number-wise per game, plays per game. We're getting more in line with what we had envisioned. And then, you know, at the jack position, you know, Ruck is probably in that 50 to 60 play range. We'd like to cut that down a little bit. And Amari Gaynor had 20-something snaps the other day, so we need to keep bringing him on. And any of the young freshmen that we can bring on as well, we'll try to do that. But if you can stay with the defensive line with nobody in any given game playing more than 40 to 50 plays, you're really on track for being able to, you know, stay as healthy as possible for 14 weeks.
Same in the defensive backfield you mentioned as well. Stick, what do you have, 27?
Almost 30 plays.
How tough is it to keep that consistency back there while rotating on those guys?
Yeah. That's the challenge, right? You know, you always want guys, you know, it's so critical back there, the communication, because offenses these days just create so many issues in coverages where there's so much communication that has to happen in the back end, and it has to happen between the back end and the linebackers typically, right? So it's really advantageous when you have the same people having to, you know, have those communication lines open. So when you rotate safeties, that's the challenge, right? Making sure that those communication lines are the exact same and there's no drop-off anywhere in the defense. That's starting to happen, or Stick wouldn't have been in there, but Stick is a very active football player. Will Hardy, we're bringing Will, you know, Will's been injured, but Will, I think, played almost 15 plays the other night, mainly on sub packages, but we got to bring Will Hardy along as well. So we would love to be able to play 4 safeties at any given time and not have a drop-off anywhere. Again, a lot of those guys are on a lot of special teams, so they're covering punts and they're covering kickoffs and things of that nature. So the communication gap is what you have to make sure that you shrink and there's no communication issues, and we're getting closer.
Gene, was Pitt possibly the most physical team you all played last year? I mean, maybe, obviously you had the bowl game in Clemson and the championship game, but maybe in the regular season. I mean, and along those lines, you're scheming them up and everything, but do you also just sort of have to go into when you're playing those guys just sort of expecting a fight?
Yeah, I think that I think it's Pitt. I think just probably over the test of time, certainly since Coach Narduzzi's been there, they hang their hat on that, right? Being physical. On the offensive side of the ball, they want to run the ball. That's what they want to do. They want to run the football. They're very physical up front. They're very big up front. It was a physical battle. Last year was in that game last year, we lost Noah Taylor and Dez in the same game. That's how physical the game was.
Drake was cut up, I think. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah, it's just how they play. I mean, that's that's in their DNA. So we have to match that physicality, and we have to know what to expect when we go in there. And, it's going to be a fight. And so our guys know that, and we'll make that very clear to them. But all they have to do is watch the film. I mean, you just watch the film, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
To your trained eye, what would you say is maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 points that you have noticed from Jerkovich, who's obviously a very experienced dude, but it seems like there's some issues there with him settling in or something. Why hasn't it worked to the level, do you think, that Pitt obviously wants it to work? It seems like the last 2 games he's been a struggle for him. What would you say as you've just watched him and tried to,
Yeah, everybody's going to always point to a quarterback if there's issues, right? And, usually what happens, what I see is that it's one guy here or one guy there. It's not always a quarterback. Sometimes it's a receiver. Sometimes it's pressure. Sometimes it's, a variety of different things. We know this. He's extremely talented. He's experience-wise has had, a lot of success at other places. So he's really good. Believe it or not, they use him a lot in the run game, and he's very talented in the run game for a big guy. That's for them to figure out on, what the issues are, but it's never one guy. It's, when things aren't working well, it's usually, a guy here or a guy there. It's not bad offense in any way, shape, or form. It's just misexecution and misfiring of something usually that causes, some sort of negative play.
2 of the 3 games that you guys have played this year, you've had opponents under 20 points. That only happened once all of last year. Talk about the players being more comfortable second year in the system. How much is it on the flip side, you being a little bit more comfortable with your personnel and just being back and coaching?
I think it's all cumulative. I feel like, number one, they have a really, really good feel for the defense. I certainly, and we as a defensive staff, certainly know our personnel better. We know what we can do with guys. We know what we can't do with guys. So I think all of that makes a difference, for sure. That's probably 2 huge factors. And then I just think, that the fact that we have some depth. We have more depth than we had last year at different places. And we're starting to continue to build that. But, it's like anything. The more reps you accumulate at something, the better you are at it, right? That's just the way life is, no matter what you're talking about. So I think that has helped. And they want to be great. They practice hard every day. It means a lot to them in the meetings and, just studying film. They do their part. They really do their part. So, we've been exposed. We know where our warts are. It's not all been warm and fuzzy. So we've got a lot of warts, and we got a lot of things we have to improve on to move forward. But we've definitely seen an improvement, and I think our guys are more confident at this point in time than probably at any time last year.
Goes back to the communication. We talked with you about the stick last week, and he was trying to catch up because he missed so much time. Getting almost 30 snaps the other night. How much has he caught up?
I was very
proud. How
proud.
did he do with the communication?
Yeah, really good. I was very proud of him, and he's when we started looking at him to see if he's a guy that we thought could help us, we always look at instincts. That's the number one, and I tell this to every coach and every I believe that defensive players that are really, really good at what they do, we would love to say that we coach them great and that's why they're playing well. And that definitely has its place. But guys with instincts are your best football players. And when we saw him play, when he was playing at Georgia State, and we played against him, it was instincts. He's tough, he's physical, he loves football, but he's got instincts. So anytime you have that, anytime you have a guy that is instinctual, I'll use him as an example. I'll use Huzzy as an example. Those are instinctual guys. So we expect them when they go in there, as long as they know what their job responsibility is, we expect them to be productive and make plays. And so Stick will become more productive. He did some really, really good things Saturday. And the communication's getting better because he's understanding it more. A lot of room to grow, but for his first outing for us, we're in a good place with where his production was.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys. Thanks y'all.
Appreciate you. Y'all have a great day.